The sun hung like a burning eye above the endless plains, a molten coin in a sky bleached pale by months without rain. The once green expanse of the Miocene savanna had turned brittle and gold, the rivers reduced to dusty memories. Across the horizon, herds of animals wandered aimlessly, gaunt shadows of their former strength, each step a gamble between life and thirst. Among them moved a small band of early hominins, Sahelanthropus cadensis, one of the first to walk upright, though not yet fully human. Their leader was a female named Tari, scarred and strong, her fur light brown like the dry grass around her. She led a group of 9, 3 males for females and 2 young ones, through the dying land in search of water. The dying land. The drought had come swiftly. The lakes that once shimmered with life were now cracked basins. Even the trees that had given shade and fruit were shedding their leaves to survive. The wind carried not the scent of rain, but of dust, bones, and decay. Predators were growing desperate. Lions thinner, crocodiles starving, vultures circling low. Tari had seen her world shrinking. For weeks, her group had survived on bitter roots and the dew that clung to sparse leaves before dawn. They moved mostly at night, when the heat loosened its grip. The young ones cried less now, not from patience, but from weakness. Still, she pressed on. She remembered a place in the time before the drought, a deep waterhole far to the east, shaded by tall acacia trees. Her instincts told her that if anything still lived, it would be there. The journey. On the 4th day of travel, the band reached what once was a stream. Now, it was only a scar across the land. The ground cracked like old skin beneath their feet. Tari crouched and sniffed. The air smelled faintly of damp clay. There was water below, but deep, unreachable. She pointed east, her low grunts commanding the others forward. The youngest, a male called Lumo, stumbled beside her. His mother, Kira, carried him on her back, though her own ribs were showing. That night, they slept among rocks. Far away, hyenas laughed, a hollow sound that spoke of hunger more than mirth. Tari did not sleep. She watched the horizon, waiting for the dawn and the dangers it brought. When the sun rose again, the world shimmered with heat. A herd of elephants, much smaller and woollier than modern ones, moved sluggishly in the distance, heading in the same direction. Tari took it as a sign. Where elephants go, there is water, the trial of the dust storm. By midday, the air began to hum. The wind picked up suddenly, whipping the grass and stinging their eyes with grit. The plains groaned as the storm built itself, a wall of red dust rising like a living thing. Tari barked a warning. The group huddled against a fallen tree, pressing close. The storm hit with the rage of a living beast. Sand cut at their faces. The young ones screamed as the air turned thick and red. Tari covered them with her own body, digging her fingers into the dirt. When the storm passed hours later, the world was unrecognizable, a blank, scarred wasteland. But as the dust settled, Tari smelled something new, moisture. Beneath the scent of dirt and heat, there was faint, hidden, but real. She turned toward it, the waterhole. They walked until dusk, guided by instinct and the faint promise of water. At last, between 2 boulders and clustered dead acacias, the ground dipped into a hollow. The soil here was darker, cooler. Tari dropped to her knees and began digging. Minutes turned to hours. Her hands bled, but she didn't stop. The others joined, scraping at the earth with sticks and stones. Then a glimmer. A thin trickle of water bubbled up, muddy but real. A cry rose from the group, a low, trembling sound halfway between laughter and relief. They drank greedily, their parched tongues quivering with life. For the first time in weeks, they rested, the return of life. By morning, the air was different. The wind smelled faintly of rain, distant, faint, but coming. Birds returned to the trees. The insects buzzed again, but peace did not last. As the group drank, the brush behind them rustled. Tari froze. Her keen eyes caught movement, a pair of golden eyes glinting through the grass. A saber-toothed cat, gaunt but dangerous. It moved silently, circling. Tari hissed and waved her arms, her band following suit. They grabbed sticks and rocks, shouting in deep, rhythmic calls. The cat hesitated. One swipe of his fangs could end any of them, but the fire in Tari's eyes warned it. Finally, with a snarl, it turned and vanished into the dry brush. A leader's choice. That night, beneath the stars, Tari sat alone by the waterhole. Her reflection shimmered faintly in the muddy pool. The drought had taken so much. Her brother, two of her kin, the safety of their home. But they were alive. She gazed east again. In the far distance, the sky flickered, lightning. The rains were coming. She knew the plains would bloom again, rivers would sing, and life would return. But for her, the memory of this drought would never fade. It had changed them all. They had learned to walk farther, think deeper, and fight harder. They had learned to survive together. The legacy of survival. In the days that followed, Tari's band grew stronger. They found new fruiting trees, hunted small prey, and dug for roots with sharpened sticks. Their tools became more precise, their cooperation more deliberate. They were no longer just survivors of the drought. They were becoming something more, creatures of adaptation, of resilience, of memory. Generations later, their descendants would spread across the savannahs, forests, and rivers, inheriting not just the land but the fire of endurance born from those terrible dry years. And somewhere deep in the DNA of all who would follow, chimpanzees, humans, every curious, thinking being that would ever stare at the sky, would remain the echo of Tari's courage. The drought that nearly ended them became the crucible that shaped them. Epilogue, the first sparks of change. As the rain finally fell, drumming the earth with life, Tari lifted her face to the sky. The water washed the dust from her fur, cooling the fire of the sunburned land. Around her, her kin danced, their calls rising above the thunder. She did not understand rain as humans would one day understand it, but she felt its meaning. It was more than relief. It was promise. The savannah would live again, and so would they. The drought had not defeated them. It had forged the first whispers of what would one day become us.